Hello, House of Metamorphosis Tribe. Welcome back to this channel where we're transforming hairdressers from the inside out. And today I wanted to have a little conversation about meeting your full potential as a hairdresser. For decades, for as long as I can remember, and I've been in the industry since I was a toddler, and forever, I don't ever feel like when I was learning hairdressing, I don't ever feel that I was handed down any tools or skills or knowledge around how to conduct professional conversations with my clients, how to understand how to hold my boundaries, how to understand how to conduct professional engagement without it burning me out and overwhelming me. And another thing is, what is appropriate to talk about with your clients and what isn't appropriate to talk about with your clients, and what not to advise on, which is everything. And over the years, you sort of like, I made this stuff up, like from experience, and maybe you as a hairdresser, you might actually resonate with this little piece. Over the years, you sort of pick up the soft skills and the communication, interpersonal knowledge, and you start working your way around this topic, which occupies 98% of what you do, which is your relationship dynamics and your relationship capacity, your interpersonal, your communication capacity. Takes up about 98% of your job, and 2% of the work is the hair, but 98% of it's getting to what it is that you're going to do. And then usually if you're a skilled technician, the hair part's easy. It's actually getting to that bit. And that's the piece that we're not trained how to do properly, considering that everything that we do is talking and listening and conversing. And today's conversation is about how do you reach your full potential. And one of the things that frustrates me a lot about the industry is that reaching our full potential as professionals really lies in how we communicate, how effectively we communicate, and how professionally we are able to hold boundaries and conduct conversations that do not override or overwhelm our nervous systems and our capacity to sort of like choose what we want to and what we don't want to be conversing in. And that is that drain on your energy. It's massive drain. I cannot begin to tell you how much of a drain on your energy that is, especially if you're in a state of gossip or advising or secrets. There's so many elements, and we look at all the different elements of the shadow aspect of communication in our industry and how that drains your energy. We look at all of that content in the evolved curriculum and journey. And coming to this now is like these elements that that you're conducting in your everyday, if you're finding at the end of your day that you're drained and you're exhausted and you're tired, you're just burnt out, it's not from the work, it's from the emotional relationships and the emotional labor that you've had to carry and conduct throughout the day. You get tired from engagement, communication engagement. That's actually the draining part. Just think about it like this. If you were to do hair silently all day, what would get fatigued with you? And maybe try this out one day. Just have a feel into, if you were going to be doing hair all day and you were doing it silently and you weren't communicating with your clients at all, they were basically walking through the door, sitting in your chair, you were doing their hair and they were leaving, and there was nothing shared between you. And you were able to measure this, which is like, you're probably all nodding your head going, yeah, right, that's a dream. In this moment, because it just doesn't exist. You're not talking to your clients, you're not conversing in, the hours that they're sitting in your chair while you're putting on a color or cutting their hair or whatever it is that you're doing with them. they're in your chair for a big chunk of time, and you feel that time, that void, that time between them coming and the journey of the service. And another thing that we look at is like, how do you feel the journey of the service if you're not talking? And that's another part that we actually look at in Evolve. Like, how do you feel that time? Because hairdressers feel compelled to fill that time with gossip and stories and all sorts of things, all sorts of things that are really draining on their energy. And if you were to feel that with an opportunity for your clients to actually embrace transformation or change, especially if they're going through a major change or transformation in their life, or they're in transition, and you're able to conduct a deeper conversation with your clients where you're just asking prompting questions, which is allowing them to self-explore and self-inquire. And this kind of directive or indirect kind of conversation takes the pressure off you and actually allows the client that's sitting in your chair to take a moment to pause, to take a moment to look deep within themselves while they're sitting in front of a mirror and they're having a process done, a transformation going on. And this is especially really magnified when a client is going through a transition or a transformational stage in your chair where, they're going from blonde to dark and they're going from long to short. They're actually going through a major transformation, and we're looking at 3-4 hours in the chair with you. What do you do with all that time, where you're not getting emotionally drained? How can you deepen your session with your client so that firstly, it doesn't drain your energy, and secondly, it actually gives meaning and substance to the transformation that's taking place. There's an alignment that's occurring between the internal and the external landscape. It's not just something you're slapping on their head and they're walking out the door with no context or contextual engagement with who it is that they are. So it's a very important part. Meeting your potential is not about learning better haircuts or learning better color techniques. I mean, that's an element, that's your craft, and you always need to update and upskill in that area. But where I find we're lacking as an industry is the lack of, or the complete avoidance of not upskilling in our soft skills and our interpersonal development. And that is a really important factor. It, as I said, takes up 98% of what it is that we do. And there's no real focus on that in our industry. And I know a study has just come out from Melbourne University about the need for this to become implemented into the curriculum, the TAFE curriculum. And what I'm focusing on is that component. Evolve is all about the interpersonal development of you as a hairdresser. And when I became a therapist, when I studied for 7 years and became a therapist to integrate, interpersonal dynamics, somatic dynamics into my work, because I realized I was working with a whole person, not just with a head of hair. And to expand holistically my service was to it actually showed up to be that I expanded my absolute potential with working with people, because I no longer was looking at a person with a head of hair only, from the neck up, which is what most hairdressers do. I was looking at the whole context of the human being. And that was meeting my potential, and more so importantly, meeting my client's potential. And how do you holistically create and transform clients? And this is meeting the potential. Meeting your potential and your professionalism is, how do you become a well-rounded professional? And that is looking, and especially in the time that we're stepping into, that is looking at what we do in a holistic manner. It's not segmented anymore. It's a holistic formation of what are the elements that make up our work. What are the elements that make up being a hairdresser? What skills, what tools, what knowledge do I need to actually become a well-rounded professional? And it's not even hairdressing, professional. Especially like, I've been in the industry for 40 years, especially if you've been in the industry for a really long time, how do you become a well-rounded professional is a very important aspect as you've chosen this as a career, you've chosen this as a vocation, and you're moving on in the decades with doing the work. And I'm not going to get into how that's actually can alleviate burnout, because it does alleviate burnout. And as I was saying earlier, the interpersonal aspect, the knowledge and the understanding around how interpersonal relationships drain your energy and cause burnout, and the understanding of how to navigate. It's a whole study. It's not interpersonal development, somatic development, counseling, therapy. They're whole degrees. There are whole degrees that are out there that actually just really focus on the interpersonal part of what it is that we're doing, which is part of the extension of the expansion of hairdressing. And that is what Evolve feels. It fills the gap, the interpersonal gap that we were never given as part of our hairdressing toolkit. And I just wanted to come on, and if you want to reach this potential, if you love what you do and you just want to be a professional, a heightened professional in what it is that you do, interpersonal development is exactly where it is at for you to develop and to expand your capacity in this field. And more importantly, to really step outside of the general consensus and stand out as a professional in this industry. And this is where I believe, the human touch industries are going to become exponential in growth in the coming future because of AI taking over so many jobs. I believe that the need for human connection is going to be so highly sought after, and the interpersonal capacity that is needed to sustain and uphold the demand that's going to be placed on hairdressers, especially to meet that connection, that interpersonal need and desire from our clients, is going to need to be upskilled in order for us to maintain our integrity and not be overwhelmed and burnt out from the emotional labor capacity that is going to be required from us to step up into. You'll have the knowledge and the skills to do it professionally without any convoluted, unsure, unknown feeling in the dark. Is what I can say about that. Yeah, that's all I've got to say about this subject today. And I just felt like coming up and letting you know that, Evolve enrollments are opening on the 1st of July. And these enrollments are for 2027. And it's an interview process, and it's a small group. I don't take big groups at once because it is very personalized in how we move through Evolve. And I like to spend time with my groups so that there is this interpersonal transference that occurs in terms of how we are relating with one another, and how we're not only sharing wisdom, but we're interpersonally really building that muscle, exercising that muscle of interpersonal elevation. So if you're interested in becoming an evolved hairdresser for 2027, please go to houseofmetamorphosis.au/evolve and book your discovery call with me, and we'll get you started in the process. Beyond that, if you loved what you are hearing here and learning here on this channel, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that this channel and the content here may grow and reach people that it will support, because that is why I'm here, to support the evolution of the hairdressing industry. I hope this content found you well, and I so look forward to jumping on on our next call and having further deep conversations. I'll see you all soon.